Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wa sayyidul mursaleen. Habibi qulubina wa shafi' nufusina. Abul Qasim Muhammad. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وبعد ولعنة على دائما على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم القيامة. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah the Almighty in the Quran says in Surah Al-Ahzab verse 23, of the believers are the men who are true to what they covenanted with Allah. Of them is he who fulfilled his vow, and of them is he who awaits its fulfillment, and they have changed not in the least. When the companions in Karbala would go one by one to get martyred, they would come to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and they would say, "Peace be upon you, O son of the Holy Prophet." And in reply, this is the verse that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam would recite for them. This is the verse that's talking about how they stayed true to their promise, the believers. They didn't go against Allah and they held on to their faith. They fulfilled it, and as a result, they were martyred in Allah's religion, and they didn't change in the least. So they never went back on their words. They were 100% into it. So what I want everyone to do, this is a test that I don't even have to see, even the sisters can do it, the brothers and sisters. I want everyone to raise your hands, just one hand. Raise your hands. Okay. Now raise them as high as you can. All the way, all the way. Even sisters can do this. You can put them down now. Thank you. So what happened here, this is this experiment that I looked, the majority, if not all, you guys raised your hands only halfway. But when I asked you to do it as high as you can, you went all the way after. But why didn't you raise it all the way at the first time? We didn't give 100%. And that's the difference that we can realize now. As a Shia, we have to be 100% all the time. That's what the companions in Karbala acted upon. They didn't go back. They were not 99, they were not 60, not 50, not 30. When Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam sat down and talked to them on the eve of Ashura, they went 100% with full force. The ones that backed out, they backed out. It doesn't mean they backed out and stayed at 50% or 60%. When you back out, you're down to zero. This is not to tell any of you guys, God forbid, you're any less. No, just being a Shia, you're always 100%. It's just to teach us the attitude that we can implement every day on not just being able to fight in the way of Allah, but fight with ourselves, even when it comes to prayer, fight with our desires, fight with the things we want in the temporary world. So that's just something like a wake-up call, even for me, to always have in my mind that when we are striving towards the way of Allah, the Almighty, we always got to give 100%. And these companions, that's what makes them the best of companions, as Abu Abdullah al-Hussein describes them. They are the best of companions. One reason being this, to simplify it, they always gave 100%. They didn't look back in their life. They didn't look back at what they have to take with them. They didn't worry about family or anybody else, all this stuff. As soon as they made their vow, which goes with that verse in Surah Al-Ahzab I read, as soon as they made that vow, then they went 100% into it. When they went in the battlefield, they didn't just go and said, I'm going to get martyred anyway, so I'll give 50%. I won't fight that hard. No, they still went and tried to kill as many as they could. Like Ali Akbar, for example, he killed 200 people, the narration states. 120 came back and went back again and then killed another 80 before he got martyred. 200 people, just a 27-year-old boy. Because they still went and gave their 100%. Just because martyrdom is destined, it doesn't mean that we let everything else go. It's like it's last day of school, for example, and we don't really want to do much about it. But still, you know, if we're there to learn, we got to learn everything. We got to, even the last day, sometimes the exams are finished, but university is still going, for example, and we still have to learn what we have to learn because we're going to be using it on the field that we work in. If we mess up, then that's it. These companions is what I like to call hydroponic. It's a word that applies to plants. When plants are grown in an environment that doesn't need soil. So there's a way that they have discovered that they can grow them by just certain nutrients that the plant needs without having to grow in the soil. So they do it outside of the environment that the soil is normally used to. And that plant or flower, it blooms and it flourishes and it grows really nicely still. You still get a really good outcome out of it. So why do I describe the companions as hydroponic? Because same as the plant, they flourished and bloomed in an environment, in a state which is normally very harsh for a human being. It was an environment, it was the desert, hot desert, to the point where, like I mentioned in the previous night, the hooves of the horses were getting burnt. And it's really strong. Their hooves, it can hold, like sort of, they can tolerate a lot. But on that sand was too hot. And they were flourishing and blooming in a state while they were thirsty, while they were hungry, while they were physically weak, sleep deprived, stressed, not knowing what else is going to happen, what's going on. Not stressed in terms of fear, but stressed because they were seeing their children and their women. And as a man, you feel that responsibility when you can't do anything to your family. Your hands are pretty much tied. Each one's coming, I'm thirsty. Each one's coming, I'm hungry. It's really hot. They're dependent on you a lot. That was the stress, the mental stress that was on them. So they were put in that state, but still they grew, they showed faith as their survival and the love that they had for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and they gave everything including their own lives. This is what makes them the best of companions. The thirst that they had for their Imam was much stronger than the thirst they had for water. The only person they could see was Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and martyrdom. And that's it. And despite being in that weak state, they still went and fought bravely as if they've been training for this their whole life, as if they've been, you know, in a really diet where they get stronger and stronger. You know how sometimes before a fight, UFC fighters, for example, 2 months, 3 months before, in 6 months, they go on a really strict diet. Not just to meet the weight, but also to be ready for the fight, physically and mentally. So you can imagine how strong their physical and mental state were, and all of this gets under faith. Their faith was strong, their love was strong, and they gave 100% all the time. When the Imam would ask, they were there. Without a question, they would never question the Imam. Even if he said, go jump off this cliff, they would do it because they knew that's how much taqwa they had. And taqwa is not fearing Allah because you need to be scared of Him. It's fearing out of how much you respect Allah, that you trust Him with everything. You know He's got your life handled. You know He's going to take care of you. Even if things look bad at times, you know that there is some reason behind that. There's a blessing. Imagine their faith has to be so strong that you have to 100% believe in your heart, I'm actually giving my life to this person, like Imam was saying. I'm giving my life to him. Is it worth it? What if next life doesn't happen? What if all this, let's just say for argument's sake, what if we die and all of a sudden we're on the wrong side? What am I going to do then? No, they never thought about that. And that's the mindset we need to have every single day. We're also companions of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, Jalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. We are his companions as well. We can be his companions. So these things happen so we can learn from the best of the best, so we can be the best of the best. So this is why it's important to also compare the best and the worst, for example. On one side, you got the best of companions. On the other side, you got the worst of companions. This is what makes the best of companions. What makes the worst of companions, for example? When you have desires for the world, when you just want materialistic things, when you fear for your life and you worship this life, for example, when you're giving 0% to religion, your faith is weak, all you see is what you see with your eye, but you got to see with your heart as well. The worst of companions, for example, they don't respect the Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt. The worst of companions, they went and killed them, for example. Karbala, they all knew who Imam al-Hussein was. But they still, another thought is, they could have still killed them normally as well. But they didn't just kill them. Simple, you kill someone with a shotgun, he's dead, okay, you let him go. No, they did the worst of acts. The worst of ways. They killed him in the worst of ways. Each one of them, not just Imam al-Hussein, his family and all the companions. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was going past the land of Karbala during Siffin, Battle of Siffin, and he stopped there and he wept and wept and wept because he knows what's happening here, until his beard became soaked with his tears. This is what's going to happen to my son. Not just his son, but the master of youth in paradise, the master of martyrs, the one that the Holy Prophet would carry when he was a baby on his shoulders, everywhere he would go. As you know, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he was born a bit earlier than 9 months. It was 6 months. And he was a little bit delayed in his first word, his speech. This was just a test for everyone, not that there was anything wrong with him. So what happened was, when the Prophet one day took him to the mosque and just sat him next to himself so he could lead the prayer, the Prophet could lead the prayer, while Imam Hussein was really young. So the Prophet then said the takbir, Allahu Akbar. All of a sudden, a voice comes from Imam al-Hussein, Allahu Akbar. His first word was Allahu Akbar. So the Prophet has to do it again to start the prayer. So he says Allahu Akbar. Again he repeats Allahu Akbar, little baby Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This happened 7 times. Until then the Prophet was able to continue the prayer. And that's where the sunnah, the practice of saying takbir 7 times, that we don't know much of, has started. That was from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So this is the man that they martyred. This is the man that they butchered. You know what I mean? And his companions. On the night, on the eve of Ashura, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, when he requested for this to be delayed for the battle, to do it until the next day, because he wanted to obviously worship God and pray and supplicate, read the holy book, and ask for forgiveness. He also went out and gathered every single person that was with him, including his family. He gave a lengthy sermon, but there's a section that I'm going to talk about is he told his companions, he turned all the fires off so it's fully dark. No one can see anyone. He said, I've done this because I have freed all of you, because there was some slaves there as well. He said, I even freed the slaves. You all have the freedom to be able to leave this battle, because tomorrow you will be martyred. He said, they only want me, so you guys can leave. It's okay. If you leave, they'll let you go. But if you decide to stay, you will be martyred tomorrow. So a majority of people did leave from the camp of Imam al-Hussein. He came with a lot of people. Majority of them did leave. Some narration states 200 people stayed, some say 72, some say even 145. But the most famous one is, as we know, 72. So the 72 that stayed, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam then told them, first of all, he congratulated them and said, you know, you have the honor of Allah now, and you are going to be the best of companions. He sort of said all the good news that he could to them. And then he told them to raise your heads up to the sky. This is in the book Madinatul Ma'ajiz. It's a really good book. There's a few volumes of it. Each one it starts from Amir al-Mu'min all the way to our current Imam of time. It's about some of their miracles. So when he said, look up to the sky, Imam al-Hussein then supplicated and prayed for the companions that stayed behind. While supplicating and praying in the sky, all of these companions could see their places in paradise. They saw the mansions, they saw what they were going to get after tomorrow once they're going to get martyred. The ones that left didn't get to see this. But these ones, this was their test, you know? And that was another reason, because it was to also encourage them and increase them in faith even more. Not that they had less faith, but this was a good news that he wanted to let them know, so that they could be sure even more that after they get martyred, there's actually some benefit to it. It's the highest of benefit. The highest thing that could happen to a servant of Allah is being martyred in the way of Allah. So when they saw that, you know, obviously they were rejoiced. Their hearts felt that faith and that love even more. They were ready, even more stronger for the next day. And that's why when I was talking earlier about how is it that they went and martyred themselves, what if there was no afterlife? What if these, you know, you never know. For them, for example, like sometimes we don't think that we know 100%. That's another reason to show them that, you know, this is what awaits you. And that was also for us, not just for them. For the people that give 100% in the way of Allah, that's their reward. A Shia, every single Shia, it's narrated that all of us will be martyred. We attain martyrdom, even if we die in our bed. That's also how much high status a believer has. Someone who believes in the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. When you love them so much, they're not just gonna call you a Shia and their followers. You get a lot of benefits, a lot of rewards that only you will see on the day of judgment and even after once you die. Because the first thing that's going to happen when you die is you're going to see the five people that they're talking about, the Holy Prophet, all the way to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. You get to also see the rest of the Masumin depending, but these five have been confirmed that it is forbidden for a believer or a Shia or anyone, even non-believers, to not see these two. They will not die until they see these five, sorry. But the difference is the Shia, they're going to come with smiling faces and they're going to come give you hugs and sort of, it will be much more pleasant. While the unbeliever, especially when Amir al-Mu'mineen narrates, is going to be a bit more harsher. They're going to be frowning towards them. Now the choice is ours. Do we want to see the Ahl al-Bayt happy with us? Because when they're happy, that means Allah is happy. Or do we want them to be frowning? But just know, just loving Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, the narration even says by the Holy Prophet that loving Amir al-Mu'mineen is the same as, it removes sins, the same as fire removes, those bits of wood, how wood gets burnt and it gets removed, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So that in itself is worship. And to continue this worship, continue to seek, how do we seek forgiveness without even verbalizing it or sitting? One of the best advice is always be in a state of purity. Always do wudu, oblation, for example. So one of the companions, for example, this is what he was an Ethiopian slave that was taken from by Imam Ali alayhi salam during his time, one of the battles, and then Imam Ali gave him to Abu Dhar, which then they lived as a companion together. He learned the tafsir of the Quran, all these things. His name was John ibn Huway. John ibn Huway was a black Ethiopian slave. Then after Abu Dhar passed away, then he went and lived with Imam Ali and then so forth, Imam al-Hassan and Imam Hussein. So he was a very old companion. He was in Karbala. He was in Karbala and then he wanted to go to the battlefield. He was old. He said, I can't see the children of Fatima, dying one by one in front of me. Eventually, he was restless. Imam al-Hussein sent him. And when Imam Hussein sent him, he went and he fought really hard. Some of them do rajas. They introduce themselves, all these things. But him being a slave, he didn't really have much to say about who he was and things like that. So that all he could say was, why are you fighting Imam Hussein? He's the son of the Prophet. I was there with the Holy Prophet. I was there. You saw me. You know my face. Why are you leaving him alone by himself? Do you not understand who he is? So he went on and said these things. While he was saying, they shot arrows at him. But still, with those arrows, he still went and fought. He fought really hard. He actually killed a few people from the opposite side. And when he fell down afterwards, he called out Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, Imam al-Hussein, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Ali Akbar. They all came around him. Imam Hussein, he was in Imam Hussein's lap. And he said to him, come, I want to see you for the last time. And Imam Hussein came and they were crying and he said, I'm sorry that I couldn't give you any more water or quench your thirst and you had to go in this state. He says, no, you've done me the biggest favor. And he said, do you know who is here right now coming to take me to the next world, next life? He said, as the Holy Prophet is here. Amir al-Mu'mineen is here. Fatima al-Zahra is here. Imam al-Hassan is here. And he obviously also had Imam al-Hussein next to him. They came to take him. And all of these companions could see this. Even Ali Akbar, Ali Akbar said, "Oh Father, look, the Holy Prophet has brought me a glass of water that just one drink will quench me forever. And he says that there is one waiting for you as well." This is what it means to be the best of companions. And we can attain that. Now, I have a gift for you guys. It's not a physical gift, but for attending these majalis, for being the best of companions, for being the Shia, we have a gift from Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. But I need you all, for the sake of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, because of this narration, and for the sake of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, if you can all stand up and put your hands on your chest. The sisters and the brothers, you'll thank me afterwards. I know, sorry. And I want you to repeat what I say. It's a very, very short sentence, one sentence. I want you to repeat after me. Ya laytani kuntu ma'ahum fa'afuza fawzan azima. Beautiful. Have a sit down. I'll tell you what this means. We already know the meaning. I wish I had been with them so I could have achieved a great victory. What does Imam Rida alayhi salam say about this? He says, if you wish to be rewarded like the ones martyred with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, then when you remember them like tonight, say this following that we just said. We often say, oh, I wish I was in Karbala. I wish I could be rewarded the same as the companions of Abu Abdullah. I wish I could fight by his side in the way of Allah. Now you guys have that reward. You guys have exactly the same reward just for saying the sentence. But on top of that, because you attend his majalis, Imam al-Hussein sees all of this. He just saw you guys say this in front of him. Fatima al-Zahra just saw you guys say this in front of her. And it puts a biggest smile on their face, because they might have had maybe 72 companions on that day, but after that day, millions and billions have been pleading allegiance to them in this same way through this narration. That's why Ma Ra'ayta illa Jamila, every single Muharram we realize why Lady Zainab was seeing nothing but beauty. This is beauty. What everyone saw as 72, Lady Zainab saw as billions. Imam al-Hussein saw as billions. It was more than just a battle of numbers. It was quality over quantity. That's what the truth has always been about. Might not have the majority supporting it, but it definitely has people that stand 100% in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I congratulate each one of you, because you mourn, you wear black, you come and attend these majalis. This is just as rewarding as if you were to fight in the day of Karbala alongside Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And on top of what we just said, confirmed 100%. I want you to feel that fully and have yaqeen over what you just said, and you will see the reward of it, not just in this life, you will see how much reward you have gotten in the hereafter. May Allah bless every single one of you and all the Shia. We're going to end the lecture here. Thank you for everyone. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.